Okay, I think we can continue. Yeah, let's see. Their machines are not working. Yeah. No, it's fine. I think I'll need mine. Okay. Let's see. Start reading scriptures to. We appreciate the principles of separation of church and state from the Bible. We can start with, forget about the slides now. We can start with Romans chapter 13, verse 1. We can pick the mic and read.
Verse 1.
Yes.
Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God.
Continue.
2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
Okay. What are we picking from there? All governments that have ever existed, according to that verse, the way I understand it, have been set up by who? By God. So this includes Idi Amin, Mobutu Sese Seko. What do you think was a dictator? Huh? Saddam Hussein, Mussolini. Okay. So, let it be known that there is no power but that of who? That of God. And if you read further, the Bible says they have the power to enact the laws. Okay? Now, whether these are bad laws or good laws is a question of fact. The other principle that we are going to read from the Bible is that they have the power to punish those who offend the law. What else does the government do? So 1, enactment of good laws. 2, number 2, what else does government do? Is that so? Yes. Okay. Punishment of offenders. John chapter 19, verse 10. Then saith Pilate unto him, that is Christ, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify you and have power to release you? Who is saying this one? Pilate, huh? Don't you know that I have the power to crucify you or to set you free? What was Christ's answer? In verse 11, Jesus answered, Thou couldest thou have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from where? From above. In verse 16, by me princes rule and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. In Daniel chapter 2, verse 20, Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, For wisdom and might are his. Verse 21, and he changeth the times and the seasons. Now, listen to this. He removes who? The kings, and setteth up kings. He gives wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. If you go to chapter 4 of the same book, Daniel, at verse 30, this is what the king said. The king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built by my own what? By my own might. Now, we have established that the rulers are set up by who? By God. Even the wisdom and everything that they use, all the instruments. But this king starts boasting that this is the Babylon that I've set up using my own means. And we know the story. He was sent into the bush for how long? For 7 years, and he became a strict vegetarian. Now, if we go back to Romans chapter 13, let every soul, then we'll summarize the principles that we have covered. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but that of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of God. So, if Idi Amin sets up the law, and you are resisting, then you are resisting the power of who? Is that what it says? Okay, we'll open up for discussion. For he is a minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. This is enforcement of the laws. And certain laws have even been highlighted in Romans chapter 13, like the payment of what? Due tax, okay? And not bribes. First Peter 2 verse 13, submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, whether it be to the king as supreme. Verse 14, or unto governors as unto them that are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and for the praise of them that do well. So God has placed men in civil authority to enact laws for the wise governance of what? Society. If it were not for these laws, what would happen? Let's just imagine that for the next 2 minutes, all the laws of the nations are set aside. What would happen? There will be chaos. Okay. So that is the role of government as far as the law of God is concerned. Now, in Matthew chapter 12, verse 13, there is a trap that was posed to Christ. Do you remember the story? Christ was asked the question, is it lawful to pay what? To pay tax to Caesar. And what was his answer? Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give God what belongs to who? What principle is Christ establishing here? Pardon? It is separation of what? Duties or powers, right? Those who are priests should serve in the temple. And those who have been mandated as civil governors should concentrate with their what? With their office work. Verse 7, Romans, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar's, which is the same as the one that is in Mayfield. Our duties under civil government, this is just some comment that I got from somewhere. Our duties under civil government pertain solely to the government and to our fellow men, because the powers of civil government pertain solely to men in their relations one to another and to the government. But the Savior's words in the same connection entirely separated that which pertains to God and that which pertains to civil authority. Any comment before we continue? So, the principle that we are getting from the Bible is that, yes, government has the duties. And we cannot go to extremes as Seventh-day Adventists to disobey the government, even if we don't like it. Now, even if in the democratic society like Zambia, you didn't even vote, you need to do what? To obey what Caesar says, because it is a Christian what? Duty. And government will be acting on behalf of God to punish you if you disobey what? The laws of the land. This is according to what the Bible says, right? Okay. Any comment before we progress? Okay, so now, okay, there is a hand there.
Like it was in that event, Christ said, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and God was belongs to God. When we see the picture of the money itself, that was the money, coin, that was the head of Caesar, which means Caesar was in the authority. Now Christ said, give Caesar what belongs to us. He asked them, who's on this money? They said, Caesar. Give what belongs to Caesar and God belongs to God. And those people are the Pharisees. Pharisees were the Roman government. Those Pharisees were, those people visited Christ was lawyers. No wonder they were using wisdom. And they were saying, and they asked them, they asked him, which authority are you using to do these things? And he said, what about John the Baptist? Give them this authority to baptize people. And they said, if we say that is for man is going to say it's from God, and people are going to stone us. And that was the crime which Jesus led him to the cross, because he disobeyed the government, insulted the government.
Can summarize?
Yeah. And that is the case which made Christ to be crucified, because on top of that, he claimed himself to be king of the Jews. How can he be the king of the Jews without the political parties and without following the regulations and rules of the government by then, which means he was breaking the rules. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, the point the brother is trying to submit is very important. Remember, after Christ had fed the multitude, they wanted to make him what? To make him king. We'll come to that point. Thank you so much for that. We'll emphasize that part. Yes.
Yeah, I also wanted to contribute, on the separation of church and state, or on separation of civil governance in the world. Because after the proliferation of humankind, we were tinabwata paka mchalo. So when we are a lot, I mean, we have also ascribed to different, convictions and mode of governance or beliefs or system of beliefs, like one of the songs would say by Vocal Union. So these people have different beliefs, and if you want to govern everyone according to a faith-based a system of governance, it may be impossible because people ascribe to different mode of morality or ways of morality. But there's a certain degree to which we should resonate, like a baseline threshold of behavior or moral behavior, So, and that is given now to the state. So that's why we can have Zambia as a state with different people. Some ascribe to this denomination of Catholicism, some to Church of Latter-day Saints, some to Jehovah's Witness, some to Seventh-day Adventists. Different, but we can operate in terms of civil governance. I mean, we're able to respect each other, That's why the civil governance was given to a state, which is important so that it protects the different citizens who ascribe to different denominations. That's why the role of the state is to protect the liberty of conscience, that people may worship the way they desire to worship according to their subscription of the system of faith to which they are convicted to as a rule of moral, governance. And also the church now should also operate in the form of the church to the people who also ascribe to that church. For example, it be Seventh-day Adventist Church and its 6 doctrines and 28 fundamental beliefs, and also if it's Jehovah's Witness and the rest and the rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, let me progress a bit before the hands are up. Now, let's look at so the basic principles have been laid down. Of course, I'm just summarizing. But let's look at now this separation of church under trial. We go to the Bible again. Now, in this case, we will read very familiar texts, but apply them to the context of today. Now, Daniel chapter 2, verse 37. Let's open the Bibles. Daniel chapter 2, verse 37 and 38. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven has given you a kingdom and power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heavens has he given unto you, and has made you ruler over them all. This is Nebuchadnezzar, the monarch and the absolute ruler of the empire. Now, what happens in Daniel chapter 3? The Bible in Daniel chapter 2 says, he is the absolute what? Leader. And his leadership is coming from who? God. From God. Given to a pagan, not a Christian, not an Adventist ruler, but a pagan ruler. What happens in Daniel chapter 3? A brief summary. Yes, Eodangand. Okay, so in Daniel chapter 3, this is a man who has absolute leadership. And now he steps his what? Boundaries, eh? What does he do in the plain of Dula? We know the story, right? There is a statute. And he commands what? Worship. Now, there is a principle in the Bible of separation of what? Church and state. What is the outcome? Now, disobedience to the king becomes obedience to who? To God. That is principle number 1 that I got from here. Principle number 2. Whenever there is, as we are going to see, whenever there is church and state coming together, especially the state enforcing religion, there is always bloodshed or almost bloodshed. Principle number 3 that I got from this. Oh, what have you gotten? Maybe let me not be selfish. What other principle have you gotten? What other principle have we gotten? Okay. When they come out of that, what happens? Or when Daniel comes out of the den of lions. Hello? Okay. It's okay? Okay. When Daniel comes out of the den of lion, what happens? The king says, let everyone now start worshiping the God of who? Now, is that a bad law? Let